Hello, 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 my lovelies. It is me again with some more horror VHS. And of course, it is Halloween. So I kind of just want to touch on why I love Halloween and also get into some VHS that I own that are iconic movies that I watch every October. To me, again, Halloween is pretty much every day. If you know me at all, my house is decorated for Halloween like all year round. A teenager was a little baby bat, a little baby goth. It was a look, but I've always been drawn to kind of, the darker side of things. Movies, to horror, Halloween decor. Halloween has always been a special time in my life. Growing up, me and my mother, how we would bond was watching horror movies, and we absolutely loved like French horror films, and we would watch classics. One big movie in my household was Dead Alive, that iconic cover of Alive, which is a movie by Peter Jackson. Peter Jackson was the director of Lord of the Rings, which I'm going to be completely frank with you guys, I've never seen Lord of the Rings. Alive is a zombie film and a monkey at a zoo that bites a lady. So, I mean, if you like cheesy B horror movies, that more comedy horror, that one might be for you. It is, I have seen it too many times. I think it has warped my brain. So that's really how I got into horror movies, and Halloween is the Christmas of horror fans. I do celebrate Halloween pretty much every day of my life. It's always spooky season around these parts. Growing up in a household with my mom, she decorated our home a medieval sort of way. My mom, she's a little bit different too. Shout out to Patty. Growing up and being a goth and feeling different and having a different view of what beauty really is, that's really what got me into Halloween, followed me through my life. So let's get into a few of the movies that I absolutely love to watch during the holiday season. I do want to start off with a newer horror movie. The director of this movie, his name is Ari Aster. We have Midsummer, which I also that is the first movie I ever saw in the movie theaters by myself. I left the movie theater and sat in the parking lot contemplating what is real, what is not. I almost threw up. It wasn't the greatest, first movie to see by yourself. But the other movie that he made that I'm going to be talking about today, that is Hereditary. By the way, look at how beautiful this is. The thing that I love about the two movies, Aster, is they start off very dark. There are two pivotal things that happen the beginning of both of these movies that completely set the tone, and you kind of go into the movie already feeling uneasy with both of these. But today I'm going to be talking about Hereditary. Hereditary is a psychological horror, which, if you've seen my other videos, psychological is my favorite subgenre. Like most of my previous videos, I'm not going to give away too much. If you've already seen this movie, fantastic. If you haven't, I don't want to spoil it for you, but we got possession, cult-like figures. This movie takes so many twists and turns. If you've heard of this movie or seen anything about it online, we do have a character named Charlie. That is the younger sister of Peter. He's the main character. Charlie ends up passing away at the beginning of this movie. And if you've seen this movie, if you've heard about this movie, you know that this 13-year-old girl loses her head. And this happens when Charlie dies. She is with Peter, the older brother. And this movie kind of starts off with Annie, the mom of the two kids, kind of resenting Peter for what happened with Charlie. There's a lot of emotion in this movie. Annie, the mother, she also loses her mother at the beginning, and her mother had a strained relationship. So there's a lot with the family dynamic going into this movie. And that's what I said about Ari Aster, kind of making you feel a lot before you even get to the meat and potatoes of his movies. From family dynamic, death, all the way into cult, coven, possession. There is a part in the end of this movie that has to do with the mother, Annie. That is one of the most terrifying things. And if you've seen this movie, it has to do with the attic door. I saw Annie in that attic door. To pause the movie and take a step back. You know, you're already at the beginning of this movie. Her daughter, Charlie, loses her head. And then it goes to the attic door scene. This movie is one of the best. It came out in 2018. It is one of the best new horror movies I have seen. I did kind of go into that movie and what it's about. These next three movies play a little show and tell because there is no reason for me to have to introduce these movies. If you're a horror movie fan, you probably know what these three are about. I just want to show off my VHS to you guys because I've been doing lives over on TikTok for a while, just kind of showing off my VHS. When it comes to VHS and the cover work of VHS, one of the biggest reasons I collect it, not only does it have the nostalgia factor, Be Kind Rewind, you know, it just feels nice. When you were a kid, going to Blockbuster, Jumbo Video. So I'm just gonna show off these three. Let me know below which one out of these three is your fave. Johnny Depp's first big role. So this is Nightmare on Elm Street. Y'all know him, y'all love him. It's Freddy Krueger. This is one series of movies that I'm pretty sure I like all of them. Maybe not Freddy versus Jason, but classic. The first one, obviously. The first one, the best one? You let me know below. I really like Dream Child as well. Into your dreams when you're sleeping at night, a bunch of the kids in the neighborhood trying not to fall asleep and doing everything they can. It is obviously, Freddy is a horror icon. Look at that artwork right there. Now that is, Jason, I do this. Getting into the Freddy Krueger movie, people do ask me this all the time as a horror movie fan. What did I think about Nightmare on Elm Street, the remake? It is the worst movie I've ever seen. It would be Nightmare on Elm Street, the remake, and then Nun 2 right after that. I did watch Nun 2. I was going to review it. I'm going to review it right now. The next movie I want to talk about is actually not my favorite from the series, but it's an iconic movie. My favorite of the series is Part 2, and that is Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Now, we all know this movie. We all love this movie. Again, Leatherface is another horror movie icon. To know him is to love him, I guess. You know what I'm saying? Something about Part 2 with Chop Top, that's played by Bill Moseley. You probably know who Bill Moseley is. If you've seen House of a Thousand Corpses, Devil's Rejects, those movies, he played Otis. With the long blonde hair. Should have been him for Halloween, maybe next year. This is one in a series where I wholeheartedly, 2 is better than 1. The next movie and the last movie that I want to talk about, 1, 2, and 3 are all solid. Part 2 is my favorite here too. We're talking about Evil Dead, Bruce Campbell. I mean, another cheesy comedy horror movie with a ton of gore. Movie about friends going up to a cabin, supernatural, haunted. If you haven't, it is fantastic. I'll try to find some photos and put them up in here. But I did, when it came to my city in Toronto, I saw Evil Dead, the musical. And I thought it was going to be fun, whatever. It was actually fantastic. Splatter zone in the front. It's gonna be a good time. These three, which one is your favorite? For me, personally, I'm gonna have to go with Nightmare on Elm Street. I just think Freddy Krueger is such a creative, well thought out, well executed character, horror movie icon. But that being said, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the cover art on this VHS, I just absolutely love it. It is so beautiful. Let me know below, what are some horror movies that you watch? What are some iconic ones? What are some newer ones for spooky season? Hope you all have an amazing and safe Halloween tonight, whatever it is that you are doing, and I will see you next time.